here we go. Oh. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets is the second Harry Potter movie after The Philosopher's Stone, and I rewatched it today, and wow. Chamber of Secrets was never one of my favorite Harry Potter films, but I've always loved it, even more every time I've seen it, but damn, this movie, I love it a lot more than The Philosopher's Stone. I think it includes a darker, more concerned mystery around it. It develops the characters, develops the world building. We learn about the past of these characters, the past of this world, and it has just a more condensed pacing to me that I love. It's also a longer film. It's able to really develop everything the way it can. I have a couple issues with it, but that's it. I absolutely love this movie, and I would love to talk about it. So let's get into Chamber of Secrets. Spoilers, of course, if you have never seen it, and definitely watch Harry Potter movies if you haven't watched them. Chamber of Secrets starts right off the bat with, of course, Harry in his other family. There's a bit of comedy there. We meet Dobby, who's a really funny character. You gotta love Dobby, and it's immediately tense because Harry's not allowed to make noise upstairs, and henceforth. But it's immediately tense because of the not just emotion that's going around in this sequence, but the fact that Harry should be scared about going to Hogwarts this year, which is what Dobby tells him. There's already a building of tension there that already builds the mystery from scene one, which I felt in the first film it took a long time to actually get into the mystery for the first time. In this one, it just gets straight into it. We know what needs to be invested in. And it starts off immediately fun. Ron breaks him out with an incredibly fun sequence in the car. I love that flying car. It makes for a lot of humour. And this movie has a lot more humour than I realised it had. This movie is actually extremely funny. They have a lot of really great funny moments in it. And it's definitely a more action-packed film. There's a lot more going on. There's a lot more action involved. Of course, the big scene in with the serpent and the spiders is all great. But there is a lot more action happening in Chamber of Secrets. There's also a lot more really well-developed drama and deep themes. This is the film, to me, that puts the depth into Harry Potter, that starts to explore the depth within this franchise and this world and the darkness within. And that's what I really, really love about this movie. This movie is quite dark for a children's adventure movie, and it's able to pack quite a punch there. There is quite a dark mystery surrounding this entire film, and Hogwarts isn't seen as this safe, heartwarming place anymore. There's dark things happening here. Students are getting killed. Harry may be the heir of Slytherin, and there's some dark thing that's happening. It makes you rethink maybe Harry's past and his backstory, and it's interesting. One of the things I love about this movie is how it develops the world building with Hogwarts. We learn more about how Hogwarts was founded, and more about maybe what's underneath Hogwarts and some of the teachers as well. And it's more interesting world building in that way. Learning more about the past makes us learn more about the future. And as history starts to repeat itself with the Chamber of Secrets being opened again, of course, they are opened by Tom Riddle, who we learn is Voldemort towards the end. And that entire mystery, how it builds and builds, it's really complicated and it's really, really well developed and done. But it doesn't overshadow, in my opinion, the great character development on display. This movie basically balances all the different tones for a Harry Potter movie perfectly between heartwarming and beautiful sequences, some fun, lighthearted humour and action, along with really scary, disturbing imagery, and also extremely thrilling mystery work. And I think this movie is directed better as well than the first one. They're both directed by Chris Columbus, and he does a much better job directing this one. The visuals look outstanding. The practical effects work, especially for the basilisk and Aragog the spider, is great. The CGI used, but it's very minimal. And Hogwarts still feels like a real, tangible place, but you're actually more frightened as the characters walk around. And as I said, because of this mystery, because of its building, because of how it sets up tension from the start, it makes it a lot more investing. But it's also a shed load of fun. This movie is really, really lighthearted at some points as well, and it's able to have a lot more fun than it does, and it balances those tones perfectly. But there's also some great character developing in there, especially for Hermione and Ron. We learn a lot more about their families. We learn that Hermione is something they call a mudblood, and she feels quite ashamed to be that. Hagrid has a nice chat with her around the start of the film that's really heartwarming. And we also learn more about Ron and his family life. We get to see that at the start of the movie, and it's interesting. We get to learn more about what these characters may be like outside of this school, and it's interesting in that way. And I like how this movie develops the world, it develops the characters even more. One thing I also really love about this movie, which is something I think goes very underrated in the Chamber of Secrets, it has sort of metaphorical imagery within it. It's able to have these fun sequences, but there is some deep sort of imagery in there. There's a metaphorical version of Voldemort, as Tom Riddle shows up, his diary, the Sword of Gryffindor, all these little bits, the Phoenix Rising, the Forks theme, by the way, is one of the best movie themes of all time. Brilliant. These deep things in Chamber of Secrets that I've really come to appreciate more, along with all the fun scenes, because this movie is a shed load of fun. Now, I do have some pacing issues with it as well. There are a few moments, especially towards the middle, that just drag the movie down. As I said, it's a very, very long film, and sometimes you can feel it. Sometimes this mystery feels like it's going on for a bit too long, and maybe a bit too complicated. Maybe there could be a quick way getting around it to pace the movie out of it better. That's still only really my biggest issue with this film, is that sometimes it can drag, and sometimes that you can feel that pacing coming in, you can feel that length, but because it's so immersive, because you're so wrapped up in this world and in these characters' adventures, I really don't care. And that's one of the things that I love and have come to appreciate about Harry Potter movies, is just how immersive they are, how much they whisk you away to a different world, and that's what I love about them. Chamber of Secrets also has some pretty dark stuff in it as well. We also get introduced to Gilderoy, who is this sort of fake magic teacher. He's quite funny in the movie. I like Kenneth Branagh as that character. He's quite humorous and smug, and I like him. He's a cool character. We also get introduced to Lucius Malfoy, the father of Draco, and he is very intimidating. And I like what they do with him, especially in the start of the movie. Him slipping the diary into Ginny's bucket, which just these little details that we learn mean more later on are just really interesting, because you notice it and it could just be normal, something completely normal, and then you don't realise that it means more towards the mystery later, like when Hermione's holding that mirror, or when that dude's with the camera, or the cat with the water in the reflection. These things don't mean much while you're watching the movie, they're just little extra details. But then when you realise where it's going, it becomes far more interesting. Moaning Mercy in the bathroom should have a little comedic element, but actually is very important to the actual plot. It's able to tie all these in very, very interestingly, and it does a great job. Also, they add some development to Hagrid, which I like, giving him more to do, him going off to Azkaban and then coming back towards the end in such a heartwarming ending scene. And it honestly makes me tear up. It is honestly super emotional, and the music by John Williams is just so inspiring. I would like to say one thing about the music, though. There is one track in the Quidditch match which John Williams scored 3 movies in 2002. Attack of the Clones, Minority Report, and Chamber of Secrets. And he uses the exact same piece of music. I've looked at these 3 scenes constantly, for the Droid Factory scene in Attack of the Clones, the Quidditch match in the Chamber of Secrets, and the conveyor belt scene in Minority Report. He uses the exact same motif, exact same piece of music, exact same track over those 3 scenes in the 3 movies he did in that same year. I've always noticed that. It's always bugged me. It's always a little fun thing that I like to pick out. It doesn't really affect the movie in any form of way. But this movie, it takes what was set up about the first one. It uses that same structure, them going to Hogwarts, having classes, dealing with a mystery, but it does it in an engaging way. It does it in a way that feels fresh, new, and exciting. They're trying to get to Hogwarts. We already know that they have to get to Hogwarts through these certain things, so it puts a barrier there. It puts something that stops our characters from doing what we usually expect them to do in the first film, which makes it different and unique. They have this big, amazing action sequence in the car, which is very funny and lighthearted and tense, and it's really, really well done. And there's something about that where it's replicating the same story beats as the first film, but doing them in a fresh, exciting way. And for me, that's always the sign of a great sequel, which I think The Chamber of Secrets is. It's darker, it's more emotional, it's more lighthearted, it's more funny, it's more enjoyable, has more sequences, more world building, more character depth, and most importantly, it keeps the magic going. It keeps the magic running, and it's just so magical and inspiring, and it's so much fun. I felt elated when this movie finished. I felt like I'd gone through an actual journey of tension, of mystery, engagement, and it ends in such a heartwarming way. I love Chamber of Secrets. Is it one of my ultimate favourite Harry Potter movies? It's sort of in the middle for me, but again, all these movies are phenomenal, so that isn't really saying much. Chamber of Secrets is brilliant. I like it a bit more than Philosopher's Stone. I'm going to be giving Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets an A. I'm also going to give this movie a 9.3 out of 10. I think this one's a little underrated. Guys, comment down below your opinions on the Chamber of Secrets if you have seen it. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and of course, thanks for watching, and goodbye.